Top 7 Worst Donald Trump Policies Outlines. When it comes to evaluating a president's policies, we all want to feel like we're getting a fair deal. But what if I told you some policies are nothing short of national setbacks? Policies that sound promising at first, but quickly turn into long-term problems. In this video, we've got the top 7 worst policies of President Donald Trump in 2025. And trust me, some of these might shock you. From economic strategies that could lead to financial instability to social reforms that could divide the nation, these policies are riddled with potential issues. And here's the kicker. The last policy on this list is so controversial, it's practically guaranteed to spark heated debates across America. Stick with me to the end, because this isn't just a list. It's a guide to understanding what could go wrong with these policies. The policies outlined in Project 2025, a comprehensive plan for a second Trump administration, have raised significant concerns among many Americans. These proposals aim to reshape key aspects of American society, from education and immigration to environmental regulations and civil rights. Whether these changes will benefit or harm the country remains to be seen, but one thing is certain: they will have far-reaching impacts. Now, here are the top 7 worst policies of President Donald Trump in 2025. 7. Suspension of the U.S. Refugee Admissions Program, USRAP. The suspension of the U.S. Refugee Admissions Program, USRAP, is a significant policy move by the Trump administration, set to take effect on January 27, 2025. This decision halts the admission of refugees until further notice, allowing DHS and the Secretary of State to admit refugees only on a case-by-case basis. The impact of this policy is multifaceted, affecting not only refugees seeking safety, but also businesses that rely on refugees for labor. Industries such as food processing, logistics, and agriculture may face challenges in filling vacancies, potentially disrupting supply chains and economic stability. Additionally, this policy undermines the U.S.'s role as a global leader in refugee resettlement, potentially exacerbating humanitarian crises worldwide. The suspension of USRAP also revokes Executive Order 14013, which aimed to rebuild and enhance refugee programs. The long-term effects of this policy could be devastating for refugees and asylum seekers, who often flee war, persecution, or natural disasters. By limiting their entry, the U.S. is effectively closing its doors to those in dire need of protection. This move could also strain international relations, as other countries may be forced to absorb more refugees, leading to global instability. Furthermore, the economic impact on local communities that have historically benefited from refugee integration could be significant, as refugees often contribute to local economies through employment and entrepreneurship. In conclusion, the suspension of USRAP reflects a broader shift in U.S. immigration policy, prioritizing security over humanitarian concerns. This policy not only affects refugees, but also has broader implications for the U.S. economy and its global reputation as a safe haven for those in need. 6. Restrictive immigration policies and expedited removal. President Trump's immigration policies, including the expansion of expedited removal procedures, have significant implications for undocumented immigrants across the U.S. The expedited removal process allows immigration authorities to deport individuals without a hearing before an immigration judge, expanding the administration's authority to remove undocumented individuals. This policy applies to those who cannot demonstrate continuous residency of 2 years or more, potentially affecting millions of people living in the U.S. without legal status. The end of the catch-and-release practice means migrants will be detained rather than released while awaiting court hearings, leading to increased detention times and potential human rights concerns. The policy change also includes conducting raids in sensitive areas like schools and hospitals, which could deter immigrants from accessing essential services. This approach not only undermines due process, but also creates fear within immigrant communities, potentially disrupting social services and economic stability. Furthermore, the militarization of the border and the reinstatement of the Remain in Mexico policy further complicate asylum seekers' ability to seek safety in the U.S. In addition to these measures, the administration's focus on border security and deportation could lead to a significant increase in detention costs and legal challenges. The policy's emphasis on enforcement over humanitarian considerations may also strain international relations and undermine the U.S.'s reputation as a beacon of hope for those fleeing persecution. 5. Enhanced vetting and visa restrictions. The Trump administration's enhanced vetting process for visa applicants is designed to increase security, but could lead to significant delays and backlogs in visa processing. This policy involves stricter scrutiny of applicants from high-risk countries, potentially leading to travel bans and increased requests for evidence, RFEs, during the visa application process. The impact on foreign nationals could be substantial, as they may face extended administrative processing times and heightened scrutiny during visa interviews. This could deter international students, workers, and tourists from applying for U.S. visas, potentially harming the U.S. economy by reducing international collaboration and investment. Moreover, the policy's focus on national security could lead to a decrease in cultural exchange programs and international business partnerships. The increased scrutiny of applicants from certain countries may also be perceived as discriminatory, potentially straining diplomatic relations with affected nations. Additionally, the economic impact of reduced international travel and trade could be significant, affecting industries that rely on foreign talent and tourism. The long-term effects of these policies could include a decline in the U.S.'s global competitiveness and a reduction in its influence as a leader in international affairs. By creating barriers to entry, the U.S. may inadvertently push talent and investment towards more welcoming countries. 4. Deportation plans and expedited removal expansion. President Trump's deportation plans aim to significantly increase the removal of undocumented immigrants from the U.S. The expansion of expedited removal procedures allows ICE to target individuals anywhere in the country, not just near the border, raising concerns about due process. This policy change enables ICE to conduct raids in sensitive areas like schools and hospitals, potentially deterring immigrants from accessing essential services. The end of catch and release means migrants will be detained rather than released while awaiting court hearings, leading to increased detention times and potential human rights concerns. The administration's goal of creating a largest deportation program in American history could lead to widespread fear and disruption within immigrant communities. This approach not only undermines due process, but also creates economic instability by removing workers from the labor force. Additionally, the policy's focus on enforcement over humanitarian considerations may strain international relations and undermine the U.S.'s reputation as a beacon of hope for those fleeing persecution. The long-term effects of these policies could include a decline in economic productivity and an increase in social unrest. By targeting undocumented immigrants, the administration may inadvertently create labor shortages in critical sectors, potentially harming local economies. 3. Conducting raids in sensitive areas. The Trump administration's decision to end the policy discouraging ICE raids in sensitive areas like schools, hospitals, and places of worship has significant implications. This change allows ICE to conduct enforcement actions in these locations, potentially deterring immigrants from accessing essential services. The fear of raids in these areas could lead to decreased school attendance and reduced access to health care, exacerbating social and health issues within immigrant communities. Moreover, this policy undermines trust in institutions that are supposed to provide safety and support. The psychological impact on children and families could be profound, as the threat of separation and deportation becomes more real. Additionally, the economic impact of reduced access to education and healthcare could be significant, affecting the long-term productivity and well-being of immigrant communities. The long-term effects of these policies could include a decline in social cohesion and an increase in social unrest. By targeting sensitive areas, the administration may inadvertently create a culture of fear and mistrust, potentially undermining the fabric of American society. 2. Militarization of the border and asylum restrictions. The Trump administration's plan to militarize the U.S.-Mexico border and restrict asylum seekers is a contentious policy move. By declaring a national emergency and deploying military personnel, the administration aims to prevent crossings and increase wall construction. The reinstatement of the Remain in Mexico policy forces asylum seekers to wait in Mexico for their U.S. court hearings, potentially exposing them to dangerous conditions. This approach not only undermines humanitarian efforts, but also creates legal challenges, as it contradicts the Immigration and Nationality Act's guarantee of access to asylum. The policy's focus on security over humanitarian concerns could lead to significant human rights abuses and strain international relations. The economic impact of militarizing the border could also be substantial, as it diverts resources away from other critical areas. Additionally, the long-term effects of these policies could include a decline in the U.S.'s global reputation as a safe haven for those fleeing persecution. The administration's approach to asylum seekers may inadvertently create humanitarian crises just south of the border, as migrants are forced to wait in unsafe conditions. This could lead to increased instability in the region and undermine efforts to address the root causes of migration. 1. National Emergency Declaration and Border Closure. President Trump's declaration of a national emergency at the southern border and the subsequent closure to asylum seekers is a drastic policy move. This declaration allows for the deployment of military personnel and the redirection of funds to further militarize border communities. The policy change effectively shuts out people seeking safety and opportunities in the U.S., potentially leading to humanitarian crises. The revocation of Executive Order 14013, which aimed to rebuild refugee programs, further complicates the situation for those seeking refuge. The long-term effects of this policy could be catastrophic, leading to increased instability in the region and undermining the U.S.'s role as a global leader in humanitarian affairs. The economic impact of diverting resources to border security could also be significant, potentially harming local economies and straining international relations. Additionally, the policy's focus on security over humanitarian concerns may strain diplomatic relations with countries affected by these changes, potentially leading to a decline in global cooperation on migration issues. These are the worst policies of President Donald Trump in 2025, according to various analyses. While these policies may seem appealing to some, they come with significant risks and potential long-term consequences. Don't forget to stay informed and consider the broader impacts of these proposals on American society and the world.